I am thrilled to have here one of the stars of Ant-Man and the Wasp in theaters near you on July the 6th. A huge fan, sir. Laurence Fishburne, good to see you.
You too.
Thanks for coming here. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure.
So let's get into a little bit of the sports world.
Sure.
With you right off the bat.
Yeah.
You were a narrator for America's Game on a handful of times through the NFL Films and on the NFL Network as well. Folks just reached out to you and said,
they reached out. They asked me if I'd come narrate these things. I was like, sure, you know. And the great part was that they gave me free Super Bowl tickets for like 5 years, which was almost a waste on me, except for the fact that obviously it's high drama. I'm not much of a sports fan, but obviously, like most people, I will stop what I'm doing to watch a championship game. So I was lucky enough to see Pittsburgh and the Cardinals.
By the way, incredible game with the lead changes in the final moments of those games.
Yes, and I saw the Patriots and the Giants, I think, twice.
You would definitely have seen them twice.
Because it was Eli doing all this crazy. But those games, those Patriots-Giants games were like street fights. It was like straight up, like you could hear them and like the sound of them making contact. It was really impressive.
So you have a buddy that you would bring?
My cousin, who is about my age, is an encyclopedia of sports, all sports, American sports.
Sure.
And so it was our standing date for a couple of years where we would meet and we would go see these Super Bowls. We were at the game where the New Orleans Saints won, which was
in
incredible.
South Florida, right?
That was a great game.
Well, and just watching the fans, what it meant to fans that had waited for so long.
Exactly. Another dear friend of mine was a New Orleans native, and I gave tickets to him and his children. And I mean, he had been a Saints fan from the beginning of the franchise, and it was like a dream come true for him.
And it would have meant so much to the franchise just a few years after Katrina as well. That was really a moving moment to be there.
It was a great moment for the city and for the team, And, I'm an honorary New Orleanian. I have a little place there, and I like to spend time there. So it was great to be in Emeril Lagasse's restaurant in South Florida with the Who Dat Nation and everybody chanting, Who Dat, Who Dat. It was great.
Laurence Fishburne here on the Rich Eisen Show. So if you could name one sport that you would be most interested in, which would it be?
The one I actually enjoy watching is mixed martial arts. And I think it's because growing up in the Philippines when I made Apocalypse Now, I used to go to the cockfights regularly and watch the Filipino cats fight their birds.
Right.
And, I've heard people describe MMA as human cockfighting. Maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know. But I enjoy MMA because it's real drama. It's completely unpredictable. You never know who's going to win. And these guys, it seems to me that they're, fighting for their lives.
Have you gone to any one of them?
I've been to one event in Toronto, Canada, a couple of years back. And it was the fight with John Jones and Gustafsson, and it was really, really exciting.
It's brutal.
It is. It is.
Well, I mean, whenever there's a sport and the word submission is part of its lexicon, Laurence,
exactly.
I mean,
submission and tap out and.
So are you a McGregor person, or are you
I am a huge fan of Mr. McGregor. Yeah, I think Conor is like a great sports star. I mean, his whole sort of swagger and his fashion sense and his relationship not only to fighting but to just the world in general. I think he's an exciting personality to watch, and I like the fact that not only is he capable of talking a lot of, but he's also he also has the humility when he gets his ass handed to him. He goes, "Hey, I got my ass handed to me, and tomorrow's another day."
He strikes me as he would be fitting for a Guy Ritchie movie.
Absolutely,
right? Like Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels.
He'd be fantastic in a Guy Ritchie movie.
Coming right out of it.
Yeah, he'd be fantastic in any kind of martial arts kind of movie.
So were you into the McGregor-Mayweather mixing?
I watched that fight. Yeah, I enjoyed that fight. I had a feeling that Mac was outclassed and just in terms of, Floyd's ability. I mean, Floyd is, you can't hit him. He's just... I mean, I didn't know much about the boxing game years ago, but over the years I've kind of watched it and learned a little bit about it. I'm not the hugest boxing fan, but again, I will watch a main event because it's huge drama, and so you know, that feeds into my sensibility. But I had a suspicion that Mac was really outclassed with fighting Mayweather.
So have you been to any prize fights?
I have. I was at the fight that I was at that fight with Mike Tyson and Evander.
Where he bit his ear off?
Yes, I was at that fight. I was at another fight. I was at a couple of Tyson fights.
Well, you can't. Hold on. We need to go back to the other one. So what was your reaction when you saw what was going on in the ring, Laurence?
You know, it was really odd. Mike's behavior was a little erratic, and it didn't match up with the guy that I had met many times in person. It was a surprise to see it happen once and then to see it happen again.
Yeah.
But the freakiest part and the most memorable part to me was what happened after the second time. I was with another actor friend of mine who you might know, Billy Zane.
Sure.
And the second time happened, I looked up and I saw a couple of marshals coming from the exits, and I saw that they were closing the doors and they were getting ready to lock everybody in the stadium. So I grabbed Billy and said, "We're leaving. We're leaving now." And we got out just in the nick of time. It was crazy that night in Vegas.
Too bad for him you weren't on the set of Titanic on that for his character, Laurence.
I might have been able to help him out.
You could have helped him out. So did they explain what was going on to those in the arena? That what the hell?
I don't know, because by the time they got to talking, me and Billy were out of the room. We were going. I said, "Yo, we are leaving," and we left.
Oh man! So for somebody who says I'm not that diehard of a sports fan, you've been to some pretty amazing events.
I've been to the mountaintop, dude. I have been to the mountaintop, and with regard to the world of sport in terms of boxing and football, but I've only been to like 2 baseball games in my life.
Yeah.
My brother is a Yankee fan, and I hope to one day, spend some time with him at the ballpark. And Magic Johnson and I are friends, and he's invited me out to Dodger Stadium since he became one of the owners of the team, and I'd like to go do that sometime. But I work a lot. So.
You do. And in that regard, I want to talk to you after a break in 60 seconds about AntMan and the Wasp, and then just stroll down some of facts that we have read about you, or at least is online about your career and what you have done. Although we did not see in the IMDb notes about cockfighting off.
No, that's not one of those. That's a little known fact.
Didn't see that on the set of Apocalypse Now. That's what happens when you get out of the boat. Exactly. We're back with Laurence Fishburne in 60 seconds. All right, so Laurence Fishburne is not watching the World Cup, but
that's all right.
Knowing your history, you'll just be there in Russia handing the award out to
yes,
whoever
exactly.
wins
it. Nastrovia.
Laurence Fishburne here on the Rich Eisen Show. AntMan and the Wasp. This is a fun movie. This is kind of different from some of the other
Marvel movies.
Yeah, because it's kind of a comedy.
It is and it isn't. It is a comedy. First one was a comedy.
Right.
Really, really funny. Really smart. This one. Really smart, really funny, actually funnier than the first one. And the Wasp, played by Evangeline Lilly, she's such a badass in this movie. And Michael Pena is hilarious. Michael Douglas is great. Michelle Pfeiffer is in the movie, and I had moments where I was playing scenes with her and Michael Douglas going, "Oh my God, I'm playing scenes with Michael Douglas." Like, I can't even believe that that's happening.
Even after all you've done.
Even after all that I've done, I mean, I still, there are still people in this business that I admire and respect, and I'm just kind of in awe of, not only their work but who they are as human beings.
So these AntMan films, first time you've ever worked with Michael Douglas?
First time. I've known Michael. I mean, I met him years and years and years ago.
Sure.
But working with him was such a treat for me.
So, what was Brando like on the set?
Brando was wonderful. Brando was one of the most, beautiful human beings that I have ever known in my lifetime.
How old were you on that set?
I was 14 when I started making that movie, and I was 17 when the movie came out. But later on in life, I had a friendship. I developed a friendship with Marlon. And it started somewhere around the time when I was about 30 years old, and it carried on. And we would talk to each other periodically. Like once every couple of years, we would have these phone conversations that would go on for a long time.
What were they about, if you don't mind?
They were about life. They were about life, and they were about race, and they were about work, and they were about children. I mean, he was really, really one of the most sensitive and beautiful human beings I've ever known.
I thought you were going to say you were 14 when you started filming it and 54 when you were done because of the experience.
No. Well, I was. Well, people always said I was 14 going on 40 when I was doing the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally caught up to that.
Well, we have a few facts that are listed in your bio on and do we have a drop for this? First time we've ever played this on the Rich Eisen Show.
Celebrity, true or false?
I love it.
So we have production value we're adding to this, Laurence Fishburne.
Cool.
Is it true? Did you really save Emilio Estevez from quicksand on the set of Apocalypse?
Oh yeah. That's a true story.
What was that about? What happened?
It was just we were in this boat, and he kind of went in the water, and he was not gonna get out by himself.
Just because he's the son of Martin Sheen. He was just on the set.
Well, he was there because Martin brought his entire family to be with him while we were making the movie, and Emilio and I are exactly the same age, and so he was the only person my age that was around. So here we are, these two 15-year-olds, and we take this boat out, and we're gonna do our thing, and he gets in the water, and suddenly he can't get out, and so. So
you saved him? So it was water or quicksand?
It's like. It looked like water to me. It might have been quicksand to him. I mean, I couldn't see it. I just knew that he needed help.
Was Charlie Sheen on the set too?
Yeah, Charlie was around. Yeah.
Is that where he picked up some?
Well, it's where Charlie picked up some of his sort of obsession with all things Vietnam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and of course he was in Platoon.
And then he did Platoon. Yeah.
It's amazing. Are you true or false? You're a former roommate of Giancarlo Esposito, who has been on the show.
Yes, I am.
What was
Giancarlo and I were very, very close for a long, long time in our 20s in New York. Coming out of New York City, being African American guys who had these funny last names.
Right.
And we often went up for a lot of the same parts, and then we wound up being cast as the leads in Spike Lee's first feature picture, which is called School Days.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had him on the show, and he's
incredible.
We loved him.
He's incredible. Giancarlo's incredible.
We loved him.
Yeah.
And obviously Breaking Bad is one of our favorite shows as well.
Yeah.
You, true or false, Laurence Fishburne, you met Boys in the Hood director John Singleton on the set of Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I did indeed, yeah.
What's the circumstances with that?
He was working as a production assistant. I was doing my role as Cowboy Curtis, and, here he was. He was this young, very enthusiastic guy who was, just graduated from SC. He was trying to be a filmmaker, he was writing, and, wanted me to tell him stories about working with Spike Lee, because I had just done the picture I just mentioned, School Days. And, we struck up a conversation, and he said, I have this thing I'm going to send you, and it's really great, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, when we're done, send it to me. And a couple of years after we did Pee-wee's Playhouse, he sent me a script, which was Boys in the Hood.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
How you meet people in this business, right? Yeah. And I'm going to add an extra true or false. Is it true or false that the first Spike Lee joint, if you will, that you did is you were in the video White Lines?
That's correct. Yes.
That is true also.
That is true also. Yeah.
How did you wind up in the Grandmaster Flash?
I had met Spike, and, he had wanted to work with me. So he said, I'm doing this video, and will you come do it? And I was like, deal some drugs? Absolutely. Is
that who you're playing?
I'm the drug dealer. Yeah.
In White Lines.
In White Lines.
Laurence Fishburne.
The man. Yeah.
So what color pill is that?
That was powders.
Okay.
That was powders.
A different type of apothecary.
But I have some pills here for you if you'd like.
I don't want to make that choice.
Okay.
And the last one, your first credited role, Dr. Joshua Hall in One Life to Live?
Actually, Josh Hall wasn't really a doctor. I was a kid. Okay. It's my first. It was not exactly the first one, but it's a soap opera that I did when I was 11 years old. Like, I got this job doing a soap opera. called One Life to Live. But I had done a television movie before that.
What was that?
It was called If You Give a Dance, You Gotta Pay the Band. And I played a character whose name was Fish, which is my nickname, which is what people call me.
Okay.
And then I had done some plays earlier on. I started doing plays, theater in New York. I did like maybe 2 plays in 1971, 1972.
Is there anything that you want to do that you're interested
There's
in?
all kinds of things.
Well, like what? I mean,
well, I'm a director and I'm a producer, so I'm also a writer. So
sure.
You know, I've been developing Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist, for about 20 years. I've been trying to bring that to the screen.
Okay.
And I'm feeling like, you know, I'm almost there.
I'm sure. Well, and something that I've been asking actors, actresses, when they come here, I want to ask you, what is your remote drop movie, Laurence Fishburne, where you are, if you're watching television and you're just have the time to just surf through in a movie, doesn't matter where you find it or how deep you are into it, you know that it's going to be 2 hours left in the film.
There's 3 of them.
That you drop the remote. What are those?
There's 3 of them.
Okay.
There's Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay.
There's To Sir with Love. And there's The Shawshank Redemption.
The Shawshank Redemption is
Those
one of
3.
your favorites right there. Look at you and
Those
Lawrence
3.
Fishburne Brockman. What do you love
3.
about The Shawshank Redemption?
I love the passage of time. There's so much time that happens, and I love that it's a great bromance, right? It's these 2 men who come together who develop this very, very loving friendship over the period of 40 or 50 years or whatever it is. It deals with the American penal system. Both characters have an arc. They both change, from the men that they are at the beginning of the story to the end. And then the other thing that just is kind of really special to me is when you think about Morgan Freeman's performance in that movie. If the movie had been made during the period of time in which it takes place in the 1930s, he was playing the James Cagney part. And that just for me as an actor, as a man of color, was really inspirational because it's like he plays the Jimmy Cagney part that, he wouldn't have been cast in the Jimmy Cagney part then.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen King wrote it for a white Irish man.
Right.
That's why his name is Red.
That's why his name is Red. But the fact is that he's just as Irish as anybody else.
Right.
And
do you have a favorite sports movie, Laurence?
Oh, yeah, I do have a favorite sports movie.
And that is?
God, how could I forget this? My favorite sports movie is Miracle with Kurt Russell. About the American hockey team.
And it's so good, by the way, I'm nervous at the end that they're going to lose.
And my favorite moment is that moment. There's 2 favorite moments for me. The favorite moment I have is when he's making them do the suicides.
Yes.
And the one player finally gets it and goes, I play for Team USA. That moment, and then the moment when they win the game and he goes off by himself and he's sort of in the catacombs of the stadium and he's just doing that.
That's right.
It brings me to tears every time.
I'm getting goosebumps. You're just talking about it.
That's my favorite sports movie.
And again, it's just those are the ones that were, again, the outcome, but you're still on the edge of your seat.
And then my other one is Slapshot. Oh, yeah. Because I played roller hockey as a kid in Brooklyn. I played roller hockey. I couldn't really get to the ice skating rink thing, but I played a lot of roller hockey on the street.
Sharp elbows?
Yeah, we just played roller hockey on the street in Brooklyn when I was growing up, and so maybe that's why those are my favorite sports movies.
Fantastic. Check out AntMan and the Wasp. Paul Rudd's on the show tomorrow.
Yeah, Paul's wonderful, man.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he is.
And I appreciate you coming here. Anytime you're up for, we just scratched the surface on the stuff you and I can talk about.
I'd be happy to come back and see you.
Yeah, and maybe next year after you go to another Super Bowl.
Another Super Bowl. Another fight.
That's right. Laurence Fishburne, AntMan and the Wasp, in theaters near you on the 6th of July.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.